Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Q, and in this video I'm going to look in detail at the Tier 9 tech tree American heavy fighter, the McDonnell F2H Banshee. Hello there, and on the tarmac outside my hangar is the F2H Banshee, the Tier 9 tech tree American heavy fighter. And this saw service from 1948 to 1961 with the US Navy and also the US Marine Corps, and incidentally was the only jet fighter ever operated by the Royal Canadian Navy. It saw service in Korea, where it was used for bomber escort, fleet defence, and most notably photo reconnaissance. And this straight wing design that you can see, obsolete even by the time of the Korean War, made it over 100 miles an hour slower than the MiG-15s. Fortunately, it never encountered them. It was too far away and out of their range. In the game, it's an agile heavy fighter with good altitude performance, but fairly light weaponry. So, I think it's time we went and had a look at the statistics. If you don't want to look at a spreadsheet, then you can use the link below the video to skip ahead to another part of it. Here's the spreadsheet for all of the Tier 9 heavies. There are just the 3 of them. If you don't know how this spreadsheet works, I suggest you use the link in the description below to a short instructional video that will tell you what you need to know. So let's get onto the gun armament, and we can see straight away with a rating of 41 and a cumulative DPS of 720, the Banshee lags a long way behind its rivals, the Gloucester P228 and the ME262, which, as you can see, have 79 and 1320 and 82 and 1400 respectively. This is because these have 30mm cannons. The Banshee has 4 20mm cannons, each with a DPS of 180, rate of 5,600 and a range of 2,690 feet. Auto aim angle of 2.5 degrees, dispersion angle of 0.5 degrees, and an overheat time of 6 degrees. Wish that had been 8, but 6 is still better than these guns. What we've got here are more accurate guns than the 30s on both of the other 2 aircraft, and slightly better range than the P228s, and considerably better range than the ME262, although be warned, quite often people will fit long gun barrels onto the ME262 to bump this range up to closer to this kind of figure. You don't want to be going head-on with either of these other 2 heavies, but there is a compensation which we'll come on to in a moment. Ordnance, it's in the middle of the 3 aircraft. It has 8 HFAR Mark 25 rockets with cumulative damage of 12,000, resupply time, which is really good, of 120, and a range of 3,806 feet. Now, the Gloucester P228 has more rockets and does more cumulative damage, 24,000, but it takes a lot longer to reload them, 160 seconds. Don't be fooled by the ME262's apparently weak rockets. These are deadly, but not against ground targets. They're air-to-air rockets used for taking out enemy planes, and that's another reason not to go head-on with the ME262. You could find yourself being rocketed, especially with the range being 4,560 feet. The other thing to notice is that the ME262 has a couple of bombs, but these are often taken off. I often take them off, and that will give this aircraft a little bit of a speed advantage over the Banshee as well. Nevertheless, if they're mounted, then they're capable of taking out gun emplacements or a secondary target at a mining plant or a command centre or something like that. Survivability again in the middle, 17. It's more robust than the ME262 with more hit points, 650. The Gloucester P228 is built a little bit like a tank and has 900 hit points, a feature of the British heavies this. What this means is if you're going to be attacking a Tier 10 bomber or even a Tier 9, you want to try and be in front and above it or below it, and when you sweep towards the aircraft firing at it, you then want to turn and try and keep in front of it so it can't bring its rear gun to bear on you. Do not go behind an EF-131 in this aircraft, it will not go well for you. Airspeed, it's equally as fast as the ME262, but bear in mind that caveat about players taking the bombs off the ME262 to give it a little bit of a speed advantage. As we can see here, 84 rating, cruise speed 409, which is well up there with the ME262. Boost speed is the same as the ME262. You've got 5 seconds more boost than the ME262, but 5 less than the 228. You're not going to dive away from opposing heavies. You've got the same dive speed as the 228, and you've got worse dive speed than the ME262, so that's not an escape method, bear that in mind. And plenty of fighters will keep up with you in a dive as well. Against the other heavies, the manoeuvrability is where this aircraft scores. It's considerably more manoeuvrable, turn time over a second better than the base for the 228 and the ME262, a better rate of roll, and the range is decent, in which the characteristics of do not degrade your manoeuvrability characteristics. Stall speed 124, best in class. Probably most people won't be using that as a tactic. When it comes to altitude performance, it's pretty much of a muchness. The ME262 shades it slightly, but the Banshee is not far behind, with a maximum optimum altitude of 8,202, which is only 300 feet less than the ME262. Do watch out for the climb rates. Just like you won't be diving away from other heavies to get away from them, you won't be climbing to try and get away from them either. Now, I don't think there's much point in going into the worst in class figures here, because there's only 3 aircraft, so these best in class figures become third worst in class figures. Where does this place this aircraft? Well, it's fast, it's nimble, it's got good altitude performance. You can still do good work taking out certainly bot bombers. You need to be careful with human players. Make sure you attack those in a very specific direction from the front and try and keep in front of them when you're escaping, otherwise you're going to feel the effects of the rear gun. You can outmaneuver other heavies, so you want them to try and turn with you. If they do, you are going to take them out. If you go head on with them, you're going to lose. And don't forget that ordnance, certainly useful for taking out, say, a couple of gun emplacements, or indeed a secondary target at a major sector such as a mining plant. Right, so I think it's time we go and look at how I've set this aircraft up. Here we are with the F2H Banshee again, and the first thing to say is that my aircraft is specialised, which means I have all of the equipment and consumable slots available. When you first get it, you'll be missing 1 slot for the airframe and another for the engine. That's as far as equipment is concerned. For consumables, you'll be missing the airframe slot. Let's see what I've actually done with it by popping it back into Specialist. And here we are. Let's look at your options for the cockpit slot. Here they are. Cockpit armour, I suggest, is useful for ground attackers and bombers rather than strengthening this particular aircraft. Maybe the British heavies, you would use this, especially if you're thinking about fighting EF-131s from behind. The G-suit, we'll come on to that in a moment. The navigational radio equipment makes it harder for the aircraft to be detected. Again, I think that's more useful for GAAs and bombers. Now the G-suit. This increases the manoeuvrability at high speeds, and it also increases the altitude performance. So the thing to look at here, I would suggest, is the airspeed, particularly the boost speed. It's 629, and also the amount of time that you might spend at that, so 20 seconds or so. And then you need to look at your manoeuvrability envelope, and it's 574. I would suggest you're going to have the Banshee within this envelope more often than not during the course of the game, and that tends to suggest that the G-suit is not the right choice here. So that's a long way of getting to what many of you will have been screaming already: use the gun sight, and that's what we have here. And in terms of bonus characteristics, I haven't got the right selection here. I do like reducing the pilot's chance of injury, so that bottom characteristic I would probably keep. Chance of inflicting critical damage, well, if you want that, then either you have both that 5% and the 10%, which is the third one in the list, and you take off the 10% chance of causing fire. However, I've chosen long gun barrels for the forward firing weapon, and I think the better choices here would be to improve the accuracy of the weapons. So if I were reassembling this equipment, my choices would be pilot's resistance to injuries, and then the 2 increased accuracy when firing at moving targets, the 5% and the 3% at the bottom there. Let's move on to the airframe. Choices here, and it's slow to load. Polished skin for speed, lightweight wing frame for manoeuvrability, and then 2 which help with the robustness of the aircraft. Well, I advise you to try and not get shot. If you want to, you can try and make this aircraft a little bit more tank-like. Again, I would suggest this is the type of build you would be looking for on a British Heavy if you're planning to go up against human bombers a lot. The aircraft is already quite manoeuvrable, so I've decided to concentrate on the speed in this case. the polished skin, but if you want even more manoeuvrability, then you might consider the lightweight wing frame, and indeed you might consider this, and then different choices on the engine to the ones that I've made. We'll see about that in a moment. So with the polished skin, and again, I haven't configured this, so we'll just have a quick look. We've got acceleration while diving, more acceleration while diving, and a maximum speed with boost activated. Those are all nice. You could improve the cruise speed. I don't think that's particularly important on this plane. Again, if you're really concerned about manoeuvrability, you could pick off the yaw manoeuvrability and the manoeuvrability in turns there. I quite like these characteristics. I probably wouldn't change these unless I decided to go for the cruise speed. Okay, so now let's come to the engine. Now, if instead of this lightweight power unit I'd put on an uprated engine, which I haven't, then maybe if I also wanted to try and get a bit of manoeuvrability in the aircraft, that's where I would have chosen the lightweight wing frame. I haven't, and we'll discuss why in a moment or two. First off, on the high-speed gas turbine, there is a penalty on the boost duration for this, but I much prefer this because I think it's important to be able to fly quickly when you're in trouble, and this is what this is for. And it also doesn't give you a penalty on piloting on the aircraft catching fire. If we look at the bonus characteristics, we can see that we've got the 5% engine cooldown rate. I would normally go for the other 10% as well to get my boost back as quickly as possible. And then I would also go for the boost availability there, which is the 5%. That would be my standard set of choices, and I don't see any reason not to use my standard choices on this aircraft. Now, on the other engine slot, I've got the lightweight power unit in order to get a little bit more manoeuvrability and just make it absolutely certain that I'm going to take on those other heavies with ease in the turn fight. And on these bonus characteristics, we have actually opted for the cruise speed, 0.5% there, but there's a 1% I could have instead. We could have the acceleration with boost activate without boost. I prefer with boost activated. I think it's more important to be fast when you're in trouble, using what's called wartime emergency power and boost in this game, and I've opted for the 2% yaw manoeuvrability there. Now, you could instead put on the uprated engine if you want to improve the cruise speed. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's not my choice because I don't like increasing the fire risk. When you increase the fire risk, you then have to start thinking about putting on a fire extinguisher or using valuable skill points to fight fires, and I don't like to do that. And when we come to the forward firing weapon, we have some good choices here. Now, I've already said that the burst length could be better than 6 seconds. So that's an argument for having these reinforced bolt carriers. However, I don't think there's an argument for reducing the accuracy of these weapons. So that's not my preferred choice, but it is a possibility. The gas-operated action will pump up the DPS, but you're never going to get it up to the level of the 228 and the ME262. You're never going to be able to take this aircraft on head-on. So again, I'm not inclined to take that, and again, there's a penalty on the accuracy. In this case, I think you're better to do damage at a greater distance, and that's why I've chosen the long gun barrels. And that will bring your range up from 2,690 feet to, as you can see over on the right there, I'm pointing off to the left, so now I'll point off to the right or just above. That brings your range up to 3,040 feet from 2,690, and I think that's really nice. You can start hitting the bombers and heavies and anything else you're chasing just that much more quickly, and you won't miss the extra DPS that the gas-operated action would confer to you. However, I think all of these are valid choices. I'm happy with mine. So let's move on to consumables. Oh, let's just look at the bonus characteristics first, shall we? Let's see what we would do here. Well, I've picked off accuracy. Yeah, I think that's good, and I probably want to increase the accuracy on the gun sight as well. Damage inflicted has been increased. I've gone for an extra 3% firing range. Well, if you're going to use this piece of equipment, why wouldn't you pick that off? You could also go for the 5% burst length. That's a pretty good one, and I would probably take off the damage and put on the burst length if I was reassembling this. Right. Consumables, fairly easy story. Because we haven't chosen the uprated engine, I feel very confident about putting a first aid dressing package on, and when you're following something with the rear gunner and it takes out your pilot, you'll thank me for making this choice. Well, I hope you will anyway. Certainly I thank myself for making it. little bit of assistance in turn fights and pneumatic control assist. I like to use this, gives you extra manoeuvrability for 10 seconds. Engine cooling. Everybody by now who's watched my videos will know that I always pick this. If you have any boost at all remaining, this will give you another 10 seconds on top. If you have no boost, it won't work. Bear that in mind. If you want to speed, then your choice is the improved mixture control, assuming you're not going to use a gold consumable. I don't talk about those because I never use them. If you want to pay the money for them, then I'm going to assume you're going to research them for yourself. So I put on the engine restart because if this aircraft has its engine knocked out when it's being pursued by something, or even when you're trying to turn, that's a real pain. And finally, universal ammunition, as usual. I never mount the gold, and again, if you want to use gold ammunition, I assume you're going to research that for yourself. So, let's talk about pilot skills next. And if you've got the aircraft specialised in the equipment up at advanced or ultimate level, then undoubtedly my first choice would be aerodynamics expert. If you're concerned about manoeuvrability, then the next one to go for is aerobatics expert. Not so important and heavy, and probably I'd actually edge towards going engine guru 1 first, then marksman 1. Then possibly taking this one off when you've got another free skill point, and I've actually got one here, so I could do this, take it off eagle-eyed, and I could immediately go for Engine Guru 3, and in fact, as I sit here, I'd probably do that right now. Now, before you go any further, the other skill that you might consider, I guess, is Demolition Expert to increase the damage caused by bombs and rockets by 10%. Given that I tend to take out either gun emplacements or secondary cut targets, I've not found that the rockets are lacking for that, so this is not a skill that I've prioritised. However, it is one that you might consider if you're keen to do a lot of ground attacking and want to really get the most out of those rockets. Not for me, but one that you might consider. Once I'd actually got this block built up and possibly also got the aerobatics expert, normally my next skill would be resilience, which does all sorts of good things when the aircraft is damaged. Okay, just before we go and see how this aircraft performs in battle, I've got something extra to show you, a little bit of a new feature for my videos. And what we have here is the stock Banshee in column C and D. Now, my configuration, which of course there's an effect from pilot skills here, so it's with the pilot that you've just seen. And then also a third build, this is a pure speed build, that would be replacing the lightweight wing frame with the uprated engine, just to see what would happen with those pieces of equipment that I chose. They were ultimate, but bear in mind they weren't fully calibrated, so you could do slightly better than some of these figures. It's just to give you an illustration of how the aircraft's been improved. So straight off, with the configuration that I have, what have we got that's an improvement? Well, we have long gun barrels, and you can see that the range has shot up to 3,048 feet. Now, the game doesn't show it correctly. The improvement is actually 13.3%, but the game is only registering 13%. It's almost like it's truncating the 13.3 to 13 when it displays in the UI. I don't know whether it truncates it actually within the game, but you're not going to be able to tell the difference. It's only 8 feet. Haven't been able to do anything with the auto aim angle, of course. My assumption is that when you work on accuracy, you actually make the dispersion, which, if you remember, is the way that the bullets spread out or the shells spread out from your machine gun or cannon. And when you improve the accuracy, I assume that dispersion gets tighter. And therefore, I've calculated that I've come down from 0.5 to 0.38 dispersion. Well, that's handy. However, I've also had a slightly adverse effect on the overheat time, which I think has come down to about 5.28 seconds. It's a little bit of a shame. Slightly hampered by this aircraft's short overheat time, but it isn't something that you can't manage successfully. Just a quick reminder, I could improve this accuracy figure even more. Remember, I've got a couple of bonus characteristics on the gun sight, for instance, that I haven't used. What else has changed? Survivability figure, a tiny difference on the damage resistance here. Airspeed has improved markedly, though, by using the boosted gas-operated turbine. So we've now got 449 cruise speed, boost max speed of 629, but we have lost 4 seconds of boost. You can't do anything about the dive speed, that's affixed in the game. With the lightweight power unit, we've got a slight improvement on the turn rate to 14 seconds and also the roll rate of 92 seconds. Nothing else has changed here. But what has also changed, again because of the the gas turbine, is the climb rate has gone up quite considerably to 521. What would happen if you took off the lightweight power unit and put on the uprated engine? If we now look at the speeds, we can see that we've gone up to a rating of 95, a cruise speed of 479, which is a lot faster than the base of 409, a slightly increased maximum boost speed of 633, still only 21 seconds of boost, but no worse. The uprated engine doesn't affect that. However, it does affect your fire resistance, and this can lead you to start having to take off the first aid dressing that I've used and put on a fire extinguisher, or start using valuable skill points on the fire extinguishing skills. We've also had a very slight loss of climb rate compared to the configuration that I have of 2 feet per second, and you can see that we're also slightly, ever so slightly less manoeuvrable. Well, I hope you found that helpful. That shows you the kinds of things that you can do with astute choices for your equipment, careful consideration of your bonus characteristics, and an appropriate choice of pilot skills. Now it's time to see how the F2H Banshee performs in battle, and we have the Road to Rome map. It's the Call of Duty variant, a 5-sector map with a deformed 5 spots of the die configuration. In the centre we have an airbase. Now tactically the central location provides easy access to all of the other sectors. When it's an airbase at which you can spawn, that makes it doubly so. So this is a really important sector on this map. You can obviously pick off a new aircraft of the same tier if you wish as well, once you've lost your aircraft, or you can get full repairs for your aircraft. A powerful sector this, and it's flanked on both axes by 4 make-weight garrisons. And there are 2 ways to win this map in my opinion, and that is to hold the airbase and your 2 local garrisons, or the alternative tactic, particularly if you've got a team that's strong in aircraft that can take and hold the airbase, is to do what I call a periphery tour and take all the garrisons, force them out of the middle, force them to disperse, and then they're easy to pick off. Let's look at the order of battle. I'm top tier in my Banshee. I have for company an ME-262, which is specialised, and an RB-17, which is specialised. The enemy has a dangerous player in an F6U Pirate. That's going to be competitive with me, so I need to watch out for, particularly at the airfield if he's there. They also have a specialised RB-17 and they have a specialised XP-58. And straight away I thought that this particular order of battle lent itself to the second of the tactical approaches that I mentioned, and that was to play for the garrisons and try and keep the enemy forced out of the centre so that we had more chance of taking it, or at least more chance of picking them off because they weren't able to play as a group. Let's see how this battle panned out. As we go into battle, I mentioned that this is a World of Warplanes replay file, so the reticle may be a bit off target. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording natively when this battle occurred. And straight away, I swing off towards the garrison in pursuit of my tactic of trying to get, say, at least 3 garrisons, if not more, and forcing the enemy out of where they might feel more comfortable, which is the central airbase location. So we've hit both of the air defence heavies. Swing round for the one where I took the engine out and finish it off. Looking for the second. Don't quite finish it off there. It will be easy to kill in a moment. In fact, we've already taken the sector, so now it's time to go off and take another one. We've taken our other local garrison. I have a quick look at the airfield. And they've taken the garrison which is nearest to me. I can see the XP-58 which is floating about in front of me. Weave a little bit because I'm on the edge of the airfield, so there will be AA potentially. And finally do settle on some of the targets in the airfield. I was originally going for the XP-58, but because of the way he flew down and past me, I decided to take out the F-94. Spotted a bomber, spotted another XP-58. This is bopped. Almost kill that. Swing around to see if I can finish it off. It's turning better than I can. I have one more go. And fortunately, because it was so damaged, I'm able to clip it as it tries to get a bead on me. And so we've actually taken the airfield. That's a bonus. There's a lot of red in there, so I fly away and consider the situation. And what I spot is a bomber going over one of our garrisons. Well, we don't want to lose the garrisons. It's the RB-17. Got to be careful about this. The RB-17 in the hands of a human player could very well have a rear gunner with a range of anything up to 4,300 feet, which is extremely unpleasant. In this case, he doesn't, or he didn't notice me soon enough. I'm able to get close enough and kill him before he has an impact on the garrison. The bot bomber is over the other garrison, so that's my next target. Below half health, won't take long to finish off. Down it goes, and that's the garrison defended. The airfield is on the point of falling. I'm not really that interested. We've had a bonus by taking it in the first place. I want to see if I can get this ground attacker out, and then I'll probably go off and see if I can find a garrison that I can try and take. Again, the ground attacker's on just about half health. From that position, it's an easy kill. We have indeed lost the airfield. Time for me to go and see if I can secure another garrison. It looks as if my team is on the point of taking a third garrison anyway, as it's the nearest one to me, and I don't want to engage in the airfield. They have at least 6 aircraft that I'm counting there. It would be foolish to fly in there. But what I can do is come back and take the bombers that are approaching one of our garrison. This will probably be the bot. If it's not, I've got to be a little bit careful. It is the bot, so I can be fairly safe in the assumption that I'll be able to kill it without taking too much damage. There we go, bringing this garrison back up to full health. Got to keep an eye on our other local garrison. But at the moment we're in a good position, 3 sectors to 2 up. And I'm not flinging myself at the airfield and losing my aircraft over and over again. That would be a mistake. Come down for the ground attacker. Another nice easy kill because it was on half health. Another ground attacker's come in. This one's full health, I think. I'm going to have to work a little bit harder on this one. Take off 2/3 of its health. Swing round this way so I can see if there's anything coming in from the airbase that's going to be a threat to me, and I see a P-51H. Check it's not coming towards me. It isn't. I calculate I have enough time to go and kill the ground attacker. And my bot's air defense aircraft finishes off anyway. Now we see a heavy coming in. It's the XP-58. Didn't really appear to notice me. Now I wasn't firing because I thought I was on target there. That's because I've got a small mouse. And I've actually pressed the fire button at the same time as my yaw button on the mouse. I finish off the XP-58. And now that garrison is looking under serious threat. I want to see if I can clear out the P-51H. And I can, that's good. And if I possibly can, I want to try and save this garrison. It's a Seahawk that's in here, so provided I'm accurate with my shooting, we should be good. And just in time, I saved the garrison, but now we're under a little bit of pressure because we have finally lost the enemy's garrison that we took earlier on. Looking for isolated aircraft on the edge of the airfield. The F-94D is the first one of those. Some good shooting there, although the F-94D is not particularly a manoeuvrable aircraft. And now I'm chasing the heavy that's after my bomber. Put the nose down, try and pick up speed and hope I can get away from what's attacking me. And the answer is yes. And I can also help with the heavy. I get it off the tail of the RB-17, and now we're in position to attack the enemy's garrison. You notice I deliberately did 2 things there. I did not stay at the airfield trying to take it, And the other thing I did, which was important, was protect my bomber. And we now have this garrison, which puts us 3 sectors to 2 up again. Unfortunately, we've now lost one of our local garrisons, so I need to push on and try and take this enemy garrison and restore our advantage. Sizing up the air defence heavies, and inconveniently they dive. I'm always slightly concerned when they do this because it brings me within the range of the light fighters. Put that one down, size up the second one. Hero of the Sky goes through. This extra range allows me to start hitting the aircraft well beyond the base range of 2,600 feet. Just manage the guns slightly there. Go looking for another target. Begin to hit that at 3,000 feet, and I kill it, but unfortunately we've now lost our other local garrison. As we can see, while advantage is being whittled down, the enemy is barely 60 points behind. I'm now going to have to take this garrison potentially, or if we can, and they've dispersed from the airfield, take the airfield. The airfield is possibly a better bet because we've already got progress on it. If I lose my aircraft here, it'll be a disaster for the team because I won't be able to get back into the battle. So we take out the enemy XP-58. That brings up the Winged Legend. Look for other targets. I see the P-51H is trying to kill my bomber. I don't want that to happen. We won't take any chances. Open up at over 3,000 feet and kill it. And it gives me every chance of the bomber taking another sector. And a bomber spawns at the airfield, and it's the RB-17. If I kill this, it's extremely good news because their main attacking threat for flipping sectors will be out of the game. And down he goes. And that also won us the airfield. And it also brought up the ace. And I have to say it's been a very untroubled battle, and yet the rewards have been very good. The game is nearly over. I'm just looking to see if I can pick up a little bit more damage before the end of the game. The answer is probably no. And then I see the F6U just appears in front of me. He's on full health. This has to be a good set of shots. He's burning. I'm hoping that's going to kill him, and it does. A fitting conclusion to the game. 18,745 personal points and a glut of medals. Not bad. It's time to review the outcome of this battle, and as we can see from the middle, it's 5 chevrons, or a grade 1 heavy fighter. That grossed 153,541 credits, or silver if you prefer, of which just a little over 51,000 came from a premium account bonus. If we look in the message box, we can see there were no expenses, the aircraft wasn't shot down, so no repair costs, and I was using prepaid consumables as usual. This was the first win of the day, so this figure is high for the aircraft experience, 9,375, 3,750 of that was base, 1,875 from premium account, and then the rest was bonuses. Free experience, 468, again 375 first win of the day, and 93 for a premium account bonus. No tokens on this occasion, but epic achievements. We have a Maguire's Medal, Marseille, an Ace, a Winged Legend, a Campbell's, and a Hero of the Sky. Let's turn to the personal score tab, and we can see that 2 out of the 3 class-specific missions were complete. Attack aircraft and bombers destroyed, that was 4/5 complete, and that's why we got the 5 chevrons. Personal points of 18,745, 5 sectors captured, 21 aerial targets destroyed, damage to aerial targets of 12,644 with 25 critical hits. Didn't lose the aircraft, and we had 780 capture points. That was split as follows: 280 for defending, 500 for attacking. And on the team score tab, we can see that that was enough, both by personal points and by chevrons, to be placed first on my team, and indeed it would have been so on the second team, on the other team as well. The RB-17, even though down-tiered, a handsome contribution there. And on the enemy team, We had FAF CDT doing his usual sterling job in the F6U. Quite a difficult aircraft that, although it's got good guns. 16,275, really excellent scores. Unlucky to lose there. And their RB17 also was quite active, as you can see. Decent contribution from Brian George as well. Now, I just want to point out, this was a really good win because we had an absentee on our team. So happy with that. That brings me to the end of my look at the F2H Banshee, which, although lightly armed, is fast and nimble and has good altitude performance. In the right sort of battle, as you've just seen, it can be effective. Unfortunately, in these days of overpowered bombers, it often isn't the right sort of battle, and this isn't the kind of heavy that's going to compete with an EF-131 very well. Well, I hope you found that useful, and if you did, you'll come and see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q signing out.